KCJJ weather. Right now it's 37.
And it is the noon hour on a Wednesday. That means it is time for Senior Talk, which is brought to you by Senior Benefits and the Solon American Legion. And here is your host, Rex Brandstatter.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hi. Welcome to Senior Talk. What a great day to be a Senior Talk. I just want you to know that a little change to the schedule. I will be here next week for Christmas Eve day, unless I win that big Powerball tonight. Then I will not be here next week. If I win the Powerball, I'll be in Hawaii. How's that? How's that sound? So a pretty good chance I'll be here, that's for sure. Well, listen, folks, thank you, everybody, for joining me today on this actually beautiful day in the middle of December. It's beautiful compared to what we've had. We're going to go with it. Greetings and welcome to Senior Talk. A great day to be a senior and a great day to be right here with you at KCJJ Studios. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy day and to listen and as seniors and to all those seniors gonna be. So that's a big class of people who are going to be seniors, and I'll do my best every week to cover things that might be important aspects to you being a senior or becoming a senior. It might not pertain to you, but you might hear something that helps some of your friends or some of your relatives or other acquaintances. Just some things as I go about my business, kind of to stir things up, getting you to think about things you could do. And I get in enough trouble during the week that I always have plenty to talk about here at Senior Talk. And as my wife says, even if you don't have anything to talk about, you'll probably talk about it anyhow. I'll deal with her later. So let's see who we can cook up. I might even have a little history to cook in, show it in here today. You just never know. So my name is Rex Brandstatter. I'm a 76-year-old real estate broker, and I work mostly with seniors. In 2008, I sort of shifted my long real estate career, which started in 1974. And I work mostly with seniors, which includes working with the seniors and their families. Executors of estates, unfortunately, administrators of estates for those who die without a will. I work with the trust departments of banks call me. I work with the CPAs, attorneys call me. CPAs call me about maybe we need to talk to Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Mrs. Jones or something like that about their real estate in the future because they've made some changes and then going to need to make some changes, blah, blah, blah. And I work with lots and lots of seniors who have come to the realization that their house is no longer fit for them. But wait a minute. What we should say is they are no longer fit for their house. Most likely the house hasn't changed. It's the senior who's changed, and usually that involves steps. Usually that involves steps and yard work, painting, upkeep, things like that. So when and if you get to that level, feel free to give me a call. Call me before that, for gosh sake. We can always talk about what your plans might be. And I have a senior line for you, which is 319-330-5534. 330-5534. So sit back, grab a sandwich, and a nice cold root beer, and let's see what we can cook up here today. Well, I was going to talk to you about the weather, but I'm just going to say enough is enough, and I like this weather today a lot better the last couple of days than what we've had, you know. I saw the tapes about that big car accident on the other side of West Brandstatter on the interstate out there, and boy, I'll tell you, that was a total disaster out there. Knock on wood here that nobody got killed. A lot of people got hauled off to the hospital, and a lot of lives were changed for the day, or maybe even a lot of cars are all beat up. Nobody got hurt. Some people did get hurt. Nobody got killed. But what a tragic and big accident it was. So not good. And that's what weather does. We just never know. But you know, we just have to deal with this stupid weather, and the way we go. It's getting nice now. Things are starting to melt. And be a good day to get out and get around. Just watch yourself, all right? Makes me think that, tell you what, today is the 17th, I think the 17th. Today's the 17th, yes. 16th, 17th of December, which means what? Which means this Sunday, which I think is the 21st, the sun reaches rock bottom. The sun has been gone for 6 months. It left us last June heading south. What is the sun thinking anyhow? It's going to bottom out on Sunday. And after a couple of days sitting down at the bottom of the barrel down there in Argentina area, so to speak, Tierra del Fuego, remember that from 6th grade geography, the sun is going to head home, which means that I'll give you a report as the sun comes back north. We won't be able to tell for a while, but you'll be able to look on your watch pretty soon and start to tell. So the sun will be heading home. Now that is step one of Rex's march towards spring. That's Rex's. That's like the leaking roof. You can't fix it until you stop the source. Well, the source in this case, we've got to get the sun to turn around so we can start getting some more heat. Now, my dad used to say about January and February when the sun was out, he said, yes, the sun is heading back, and yes, the sun is out, but there's no heat in it. So, and he was right, for God's sake. So that's what we're going to do, folks. Step one, this Sunday, the worm's going to turn, the sun is going to head back this way, and I just want to caution you, seniors, about shoveling snow. It is very hard work and hard on your heart and your back and your legs, and I personally choose to have someone else do it as much as they can, and I just don't want to be a statistic for shoveling snow. So be very careful. We all know people who have slipped and fell on the ice while they're shoveling snow, or just flat slipped and fallen, or probably we all know someone who have maybe had an issue and a heart attack from shoveling snow. So be careful. Don't do it unless you. I don't even know if you have to. Just get somebody else to do it. All right. Well, when I was a kid, the week before Christmas, this was the last week that I could submit a list to Santa Claus. The last week I could send a list to be consideration. Now, and I used to tell my brother that, he said, well, let's send a list of our demands. Can you imagine back in your day as a kid if you would have given your folks that letter, say, these are my list of demands? That wouldn't have gone well at our house. My dad would have come right up out of it. His response would have been, you'll think list of demands. Speaking of demands, you get over there and out to shovel that snow, or get out there and mow the grass, or whatever the situation. Take the garbage out. He'd turn the tables on me. So I just can't imagine ever saying to my parents, here's a list of demands. That would never fly. All right. So anyhow, that was today. This week, and I had to make a list that had to label it a section called a want and a section called need. Things that I want and things that I need. And as a 7 or 8 or 9-year-old kid, everything was a need. I mean, there's no, you want and need, it just sounded the same. It kind of rhymes, kind of sounds the same. Doesn't want and need. As you get older, being an adult, you kind of know, you know the difference, but you don't care at some point. If you want it, you just go buy it, whether it's a need or not. But as a kid, I was supposed to do that. So every year I would round up 2 or 3 of my neighbor buddies, and we'd come over there, and we'd lay on the living room floor with a Sears catalog and a Monkey Ward's catalog, Montgomery Ward's catalog, and it was pretty easy to choose what we needed. Not wanted, but needed. And every year was about the same thing. We'd do that. They'd compile their list and give it to their mom and dad to be shipped off to Santa Claus. And I'd make a list of the stuff I had to have. And those are usually things like any Hopalong Cassidy stuff. Now I needed his gun rig, they call it, a watch and a hat and his shirt and pin, etc. And I did get some of those things. I did. The other one would have been Roy Rogers' 2-gun rig with a watch and a belt buckle, and I did get that one year too. So I was doing pretty good. My buddies, a lot of them had the same thing. A Davy Crockett hat and shirt and fringe pants, and maybe even an Old Betsy. I never got the plastic Old Betsy, but I did get the shirt and the coonskin hat and fringe pants. I had that. I was a walking Davy Crockett advertisement. I could have been on the keel boats with him. I looked just like Davy Crockett. Proud of it, I might tell you. I was Davy Crockett groupie, roadie with Davy Crockett for sure. During Disney back in 1955 and along in there. So, boy, I was proud of it. Well, how about I always wanted a basketball or baseball glove with a famous player model, not just march down to Wilson Sporting Goods downtown next to the Engler Theater. But I needed, and there you go, I needed a football with a Johnny Unitas, autographed by Johnny Unitas, or Bobby Lane. Bobby Lane, of course, was the quarterback for the Detroit Lions, and Johnny Unitas was the quarterback for the Baltimore Colts. Or I would settle for, and I would almost much rather have a helmet from Ollie Matson. Now, Ollie Matson played for the Chicago Cardinals, and if you recall, or if you don't recall, even if you don't, the Chicago Cardinals, they're now the Arizona Cardinals. They played in Chicago. They played at Comiskey Park, home of the White Sox, and the Chicago Bears, played at Wrigley Field, home of the Cubs. and they played. I know they played each other at least once a year for sure, absolutely. But they're big. The Cardinals' big hotshot running back was a guy named Ali Matson. So I would have settled for a Johnny Unitas football or a Bobby Lane football or an Ali Matson helmet or something, and I never got any of them. I had a football and I had a basketball. Actually, I ended up with a University of Iowa basketball. A friend of my dad's worked there, and the university gave him a basketball to give to some kid. They said, well, that kid was me. So I had an Iowa basketball. I was hot stuff. I wouldn't have mind having a hockey stick and a puck because I learned to skate because I got ice skate, so I had to have a hockey stick and a puck. And something that I always wanted, and this couldn't ever have been a need because I had a Silver Streak sled, which is fine. But all kids really, really wanted a flexible flyer. Now, we had a couple of my friends had a flexible flyer. Well, what the heck's the flexible flyer? If you don't know, the Silver Streak was the Chevrolet of the sledding business. Every kid had a Silver Streak. But the Cadillac was the flexible flyer, and the flexible flyer was where you put when you laid on it. Nobody ever sat on it except dorks. I don't know that. Oddball kids. Anyhow, we always laid on it, and where you put your hands up there or steer. With the flexible flyer, it had big steel loops, like put your hands in this loop, and you could steer, and it was flexible because the runners and the front runners that would steer left or right, and you could actually steer. Versus the flexible flyer, which you just had two on either side, a nice big painted piece of wood sticking out, and then when you wanted to turn, if you wanted to turn to the right, you dragged your right foot in the snow, or your left foot in the snow. That was the difference. We didn't care. Every once in a while, my buddy would let me ride his flexible flyer. Man, that was it. I wanted a flexible flyer. I wanted one of those newfangled saucers that came out in the late 50s. You sit on them. Just as you go down the hill, you give yourself or your buddies give you a big round and round twist to go round in a horn. And my brother got one, and boy, those things were nasty. I needed a pair of high-top tennis shoes. Usually Converse All-Stars would have been great. I didn't even get those till junior high. And of course, anything new baseballs or a baseball glove with an autograph. And I did. My first baseball glove was an autograph, and it was autographed by a model, Don Zimmer. And Don Zimmer was the second baseman for the Dodgers, which was fine enough for me. And so I still have my Little League baseball glove with Don Zimmer model. So those are things as a kid. The other things that were always on those, always back then, was the pony. Pony, yes, yeah, a pony. But we all had that, a Schwinn with a headlight and dual rear baskets. Of course, I wouldn't have mind having Cub Scout equipment, like a floating air mattress for swimming, swim fins, and a face mask, all those things. I mean, those things are on the list all the time. And my dad would say the pony. He said, "Now what?" He would just look at me and go, "What are you thinking? Where we live in Corva, in a with a house. What are we gonna do with the pony? Where are you gonna feed it? What's gonna happen when he makes a poop? Who's gonna do that? Who's gonna pay for the money for food?" And it made no sense to me. He was the voice of reason, but not the reasoning we wanted to hear. So those are the other things. So I'll bet you did the same thing, or whether you're listening and you're a man or a woman, I bet you $1 you all had your list, and I bet you $1 you did the same thing. And if you're a senior, I'll bet you $1 you had a lot of these things on there of some sort. Ice skates, and the ice skates were one of the very best ones I ever got because I did learn to ice skate, and I ice skated a lot. In my opinion, I was pretty good. I skate forward and backward and come in go real fast and slide in there, make ice go. Just spray in your face. I really like it. I would love to go ice skate, but here's my problem. At my age, in my mid-70s, upper mid-70s, I would hate to do that and fall down, break my leg, break my neck, break my arm, break my back, and be in the hospital and be all decrepit. So I refrain from doing that. I just live in the fact that I used to ice skate. I loved it, and I'm not going to do it again. So sounds like a defeatist attitude, but I'm just looking out for myself. So we would then turn those letters in to a respective mom and dad, and they would send them on to Santa Claus. And that's how Santa was informed of all the things that I needed. And I didn't care what the other kids got. I just knew that that's what I had to have. So away we go. So some came true, some did not, but what fun we had dreaming, kind of like this lottery deal, Some would be available only with contributing funds on my part via mowing lawns and shoveling snow, which was later in life when I needed a bigger bike or I wanted something like that. My dad would say, well, sure, let's go down to Novotny's in Iowa City on Iowa Avenue. Roughly where, let's see, Joseph's Steakhouse is. Novotny's was right south across the alley. the bicycle shop for kids in Iowa City back then. You could also get one at Sears Awards, which a lot of people did, but the place to get a Schwinn was Novartis. So my dad would say, sure, we can go down to Novartis anytime. After my first bike, and I had a paper. I said, I've got half if you have half. Whenever you have your half, we'll go get a bike. Because he wanted me to have some skin in the game. He wasn't going to hand me a new bike. And that's kind of where the lessons started, to get a paper out, sell greeting cards, sell those crazy zip code books, which we did. My brother and I made a fortune on that. So that's what it was. You get your butt down there, get out there at work, go mow grass. You don't get paid for mowing our grass here at the house. You get free supper for that. So go get yourself a lawn mowing route in the summer, and that's what we did. And that's pretty normal stuff. How about you? Did you get in on stuff like that? Did you have to end up, if you lived out in the country, you had chores, but I bet you $1 you didn't get paid for doing your chores, so it was hard to come by money out in the country. Maybe you got the egg money, maybe you got sweet corn money. I don't know, but I know a lot of you had to work like I did, and it's normal. I'm glad I did. It taught you a lot. So was the Sears catalog your guide? Do you or your grandkids or any of your kids still do this? Do they still have this time of thing where they get together? And my folks never had to ask us, what do you want? They just said, get busy and tell us, get going on your list, or we knew what the heck to do. So. Well, a senior man tells me this. He says, my wife has been diagnosed with a very serious health issue. She actually knows the low chances for a long life ahead. And he said, there's not a lot of good time left. We are now sitting down with family to get a plan on things. So they've kind of circled the wagons with their family here to sort of let everybody know that mom or grandma has health issues, and all the doctors say it's not good. We are reviewing all of our insurance policies and meeting with our attorney to get advice on all legal things we can do now. We have a warning in advance which should help. So sad, but such a stance they have to take now. So these folks are lucky enough to get a warning, and there's going to be an issue with mom. Been told she's got a very serious health issue. So now mom and dad here are saying, you know what, in this time that we have left here together, let's sit down with our attorney and see what we can do. Now that could include, I didn't talk to him anymore about that. I wished him well and told him truly sorry I was. But the things that they could do, that we've talked about here, they could talk to their attorney and update the will. Got plenty of time to do that, so to speak. We don't know how much time, so get on it. The attorney says he's going to be on here, she's going to be on vacation for a week or 3 weeks, or you might say, give me somebody else, because who knows. Update your will. Meet with your family, of course, and just level with them. Tell them what's going to happen. Get some funeral arranged. These are tough things. Go see the funeral guys. Get that arranged now. Going to need it. Look at insurance policies. What you've got. Anything that might need to be signed by both parents. Maybe sit down with have mom sit down with a piece of paper and write a letter to the family, to the kids, and how much they meant to her if they have kids. Say, Johnny, I know you always wanted to have that something nightstand, something, my typewriter, my stand over there by the television where I keep all the mementos. I know you'd like to have that. I always want that. And your sister, Jane, I know you've always wanted a picture of Grandma and Grandpa. Those will be yours. It's that type of meeting, that type of discussion, because the health issues, there's no way around it, the doctors have told. So these are time to fish and cut bait and fish here. This is the real deal. And so this man just tells me my wife has been diagnosed with a very serious health issue, and she's going to be a short time here. So they're going to have to sit up straight and get this stuff done, because time there's a thing in all contracts called time is of the essence. So time will be of the essence here. So good luck to them. My fingers are crossed that they get things worked out, and maybe the health would change, but it didn't sound like it for sure. All right. So sad. A senior lady says to me, I was in our basement storeroom looking for our big turkey roasting oven. So you know what that big turkey roasting oven is. They're going to get out. Apparently everybody's coming over for Christmas. That's one of those big white turkey ovens and turkey roaster things, a big white one with a big lid. It had a dial on the side of it. You put in a dial up to 350 or something like that. Ours had like a white cabinet underneath it. It was like a piece of furniture. We had that. Now the ones you can buy, you can still buy them. You can get them. You can go to probably Tyson's and get one, or I don't know about Lowe's. Maybe they do. I don't know. You can go all kinds of different places. I'm sure Costco has them, and maybe Atlantic and Sealy True Value has them. All kinds of places. Maybe Menards has them. I think places like that. But you know the ones I'm talking about. It's got the black handle lid. They're pretty darn handy. You don't want to use it once or twice a year, but they're pretty darn handy when you want to have them. So she says, I was in the store looking for one of those with the white one with the big lid and the temperature setting. She said, I found 2 of them. She said, I bought one last year thinking I had given one to my daughter. Now I have 2. My daughter doesn't want the one, by the way. I guess I don't really know what I have down there. The last sentence is the best. I guess I really don't know what I have down there. So she went out and bought one. I'm going to tell you that they're $69.95 or something like that. I don't think they're $1 million or anything like that. I think they're pretty affordable. But here, this lady thought she gave it to her daughter. In other words, she didn't really know. And she went downstairs, and when she got that, she bought a new one, went downstairs, and then take it down. Now there's 2 of them. So what's the moral of the story? She doesn't know what she has. How about you? Do you know what you have downstairs, or open up drawers, things like that? I opened a drawer not too long ago looking for something, and I found like 6 pocket knives. I'm a pocket knife guy. I got one in my pocket right now. Boy's got a pocket knife. I can't function without a pocket knife. It's the way it is. I used it a million times. I used it yesterday or something. She didn't know what was in the basement. And I think a lot of us would you do that. So here I didn't know what was in that, what I call Rex's junk drawer, which is what it is. I found 5 or 6 pocket knives in there. I don't want to tell my wife because she'll roll her eyes and won't let me buy another one. For sure. But, folks, it's time for you to not get in that position, not spend more money. Go down there and look and start taking, you don't have to write anything, just to go down and start taking a good view, a good eyesight view inventory of what you have and don't have. You can at least start that way, at least. We're going to talk about what you really should be doing after the first of the year. We're going to load up for bear here and talk. Speaking of that, I negotiated another contract for 2026 right here on Senior Talk. They met my listed demands. So so it's KCJJ kowtowed to my listed demands, and I'll be back next year. So to speak, I guess. So a senior couple says this: we just think our house is colder than normal this past week. Is this possible? And the answer is yes. It's really, really cold outside, and you know your house is cold. I don't know what you run your thermostat at. If you called any thermostat guy, in other words, any furnace guy here in town, any of them, you choose, and say, what should we set our furnace at? You know what they're going to tell you? To a guy who you call. They're going to say, set it where it's comfortable. They're not going to say 71 or 73 or 68 and put a blanket around your shoulder. They're going to say, set it where it's comfortable. It's exactly what they're going to tell you. Don't worry about what the dial says. Set it where it's comfortable. So the answer to that man is, can the house be colder in the past week? The answer is yes. Now let's dissect that. Why does it feel colder? Well, maybe you need to analyze your house. First of all, I want you to call the furnace guy to talk to them and see maybe they need to make a service call. Maybe your furnace isn't working good. Have you changed the furnace filter? Maybe that thing is so plugged up your furnace can't crank out some good old healthy, clean, warm, comfy air. A lot of this could be on your shoulders, not on the not on the furnace. You could check. I've got a good story here. This is a true story. You could check to see if you've moved furniture on top of the heat registers. And that happens all the time. So I had a lady call me a few years ago and said in a building, we just don't seem to get the heat. We just don't. It's cold in here. So I went to that building and looked around, and you know what I found? I took the furnace guy with me. He's a friend of mine. He happened to be at my office. We went to that location there, and out of the 8 registers, I think they had 6 of them, they had a piece of furniture sitting on top. I said, you have 8 registers, and there's furniture sitting on 6 of them. I'm never going to come back here. Now you've cried wolf to me. Well, they moved all the furniture, and she called me back and said, well, it's a lot warmer in here now. Well, duh. For God's sakes, folks, go check your own furniture and see if you have put furniture sitting on top of a heat register. Well, no, we didn't, but maybe someone else in your house. So if you're the husband, you blame the wife. And if you're wife, you blame your husband. All right. That's the way it is. Also, I don't know about this time of year, but I would, in the spring, I would have a guy get up in the attic. Maybe it's a woman. I don't know. I'm just saying a guy. Get up in the attic to see if there are holes in the insulation, or if the insulation, sometimes wind whistles through your attic, which is not a bad thing. It creates a good movement of air. Houses have to breathe. They can't be so airtight that they can't breathe. Maybe that's shifted around. So that, and let me ask you another question. Have you started keeping doors open and or closed to cut off the heat to a back room or anything like that? Have you started keeping a door open or a door closed here or there to cut off the heat in the back room or any other room, thing like that? If so, tell your furnace guy, well, you know what we do in the fall, as soon as the heating season starts, we close that back bedroom off back there. They're going to tell you not to do that because they say the whole house needs to be breathed and have the air circulating. They might recommend you turn the fan on so that the furnace is not it circulates when it calls for heat, but in the meantime the fan is on and the fan is circulating the general heat. We have that at our house. Our fan is always on. Oh, I don't think we've lived in this house 21 years maybe. I don't think we've ever shut the fan off. So right now the heat is on at 71 maybe. I don't know, 70, 71. And the fan is on, circulating the air. This is the way we do it. So you've got problems in your house. You're gonna first of all you're gonna see if I'll give you another little hint. This happened to me last week. It was cold in the bathroom there. Standing there brushing my teeth, and I thought it felt cold. The toothbrush holder felt cold. And there's a window. There's a crank window there. I'm going to say it's like 10 inches wide and maybe 2.5 feet tall, kind of a big crank out window in the bathroom there. You can see out, type of thing. And I know I put my hand up there and it was cold, really cold. And so I saw the handle closer, the handle, and I took that handle and I moved it from up position to down position, and the window came shut harder. It was not locked. It was closed, but it wasn't locked. And as soon as I did that, then I waited about a minute and put my hand back up there, and it was a lot warmer. So even dumbhead here, I hadn't locked my own window, and that was causing my own problems. So lots of things you can do rather than have to buy a new furnace, but you could certainly check on these things for sure. I think that's a good way to start. Start thinking that there's something wrong, but not the furnace. Something wrong that you put something on top of the heat vents. Insulation not good. You haven't changed the furnace filter, which guarantee you that's going to be part of it. Get busy. Get busy. Well, I have to tell you that I'm impressed with the city of Coralville and their annual program of wrapping and lighting the trunks of trees along the Coralville Strip and First Avenue. That is pretty darn nice. It's a seasonal type thing, and they do it. They turn them on right after Thanksgiving, and it looks nice. It dresses up the Coralville Strip, Highway 6 and First Avenue. Looks very nice. It also shows of the season, and I think is a nice welcoming to visitors, and I also think it kind of helps people coming to town, maybe to a sporting event or to the university, helps them give a little welcoming, and also gives them hopefully a sense of direction. So, how about your town? Where you grew up? How about your town? Now or even as a kid? Santa come by fire truck if he showed up at all? Or the lights in the town areas, if you had, did the store windows get decorated at all? There used to be a lot of nice store windows decorated downtown Iowa City. You just don't see much of that. The Iowa City Fire Department used to roll out and put up big Christmas displays downtown Iowa City, middle of the intersections, right out in the middle of the fire department. They'll know this. Dubuque and Washington on that intersection, out in front of the Hotel Jefferson, First National Bank. They always had one right out in the middle, a great big one. They bring the fire truck up there, put a ladder up. Sometimes the ladder truck do that, and those guys spend a lot of time doing that. All right. So what's your hometown do? Is your hometown a small town? Is it dead? A lot of them just don't have anything going for them. All right. One of the annual events as a kid was at the neighbor's house when I was a kid. The dad was a little league and later a Babe Ruth coach, and he would invite some of the neighbor kids. His son and myself and 3 or 4 other buddies come over to his house or their house and have cookies and cake and, oh yes, homemade ice cream. Annual deal. His wife would buy all the ingredients, and the coach, his name was Dean, he would provide the handy-dandy ice cream machine. Do you know where this is going? He's got 4 or 5 kids, 3 or 4 boys there. We think we're smarter than a whip, and we're 10, 11 years old, 11, 12 years old. Folks, do you know how to make homemade ice cream? Have you ever made homemade ice cream? Yes, you're saying. Have you ever made homemade ice cream with no electricity? No, ours is all electric. Well, good for you. Dean didn't have that. Dean had the old, what he called Armstrong ice cream maker. And we didn't know what Armstrong was until after we'd done it for a while. They put all the ingredients in the little barrel, and then they pour in the ice and pour in salt. Big couple things of Morton salt, because salt makes ice get colder. It really does. It really does. For that. So you put them in, and this thing is like a little bit smaller than a 5-gallon bucket, and clamp it in there, and there's a crank sticking out the side like you're going to crank up a 1932 Ford, by the way. And away you go. And so I always want to crank first. Go ahead, you dummy, you get cranking. Why? Well, because it was easier, because the ice cream hadn't frozen yet. So it was easier. So then we'd take turns. Dean would time us. 2 minutes. Got to give it 2 minutes, or a minute and a half, or 22 cranks, or something like that. We cranked our little fannies off. So we'd get the 3 or 4 guys in line, and we'd crank away. And we'd laugh and of course, push each other and do all this kind of things. And Dean would sit on a chair, folding chair there, and hang on to it. And he had a towel, kind of mop up down in the basement next to a floor drain, that type of thing. And we'd get that ice cream because he said, the more you crank, the longer you crank, the better it is. And he was right. In the end, that ice cream was really, really good, and they'd dish it up. And I'm telling you, folks, haven't had it for a while, but that's what we did. I hope you've done that. If you haven't, you've never made homemade ice cream, go down to the grocery, or not grocery, go down to Lennox or Seelick or those places. Order one out, how you do it, and get an ice cream maker. You'll love it. It's a great way to enjoy it. And the electric ones now are a piece of cake. Put it in the kitchen sink, crank it on, and away you go. Well, it's the end of the year kind of a thing. I thought maybe I could give you some suggestions. You're going to be rounding up your papers for taxes. You round them up your papers usually in January, but if you're going to round them up, let's do some things. I suggest you contact your CPA or your tax guy, your tax lady, to see what tips they might offer you on some things you can do to get some good end-of-the-year tax tips, all right? Because once after December 31st, you can't do much about it. So EOY credits, they're called end-of-the-year credits, end-of-the-year write-offs for certain purchases. You might want to consider paying the second half of your taxes that you usually pay in March. You could pay them in December because they're due and payable. You're like, well, Rex, we pay them in March. That's fine. I don't care. But you can pay them if you had a pretty good year, if you're a salesman or had a good income. You can pay them the second half this month. We're going to pay them in March. Okay, that's fine. If you want to pay them now, you can deduct them off this year's taxes. If you need no tax deduction, you could think that way. All right? Maybe you could buy a laptop or office equipment. The tax credit for new home solar units ends next week. No, 2 weeks. Sorry, December 31st. And you have to have a letter from the I think like the city that it's workable, installed, and or the installer that it's 100% installed and online. And I think it has to be hooked up online. The whole thing. You can't cheat them. Okay. So I'm pretty sure that's what. Should you lease or buy a new car? You're thinking about a car, lease or buy. The great questions for your CPA or tax guy. Depends on your use, future use, your payments and expenses. That's not for everybody. So I would tell you this: if you itemize, this will really help you. But if you don't itemize, there's a new law coming in that's going to start in January, but it will be for when you do your taxes in 2026. That you can take up to $1,500 in itemizations, even if you take the standard deduction. So I'm not your tax guy at all, but I read a lot. And so if you think you want to wait till after the first year, fine. But, if you own a business and you think, well, we really need a new computer down here. We really need some new office chairs. You should get a hold of your accountant, whoever does your taxes. Go online and look at some, go online to Google and say, 25 best tax deductions for 2025 off business tax deduction. 25 best homeowner tax deduction. And just at least make yourself available to reading a list. That's what you need to do. All right. Well, that pretty well sums up what I've got. Next week, we're going to play a big game called Can You? Can you? Can you tell me the amount of insurance on your house? I'll give you the number one. I'll give you, there's several here. Can you tell me the amount of insurance on your house? The deductible, the agent. Do you get a rental car in case you have a house fire or a tornado or something like that? Do you get nights in a hotel? You should know the answer to that by next week. You should know the answer right now, but I'm giving you a week's heads up. A big game called Can You, and I won't be able to think of everything, but I've got at least 10 here. At least 10, I just gave you one. So next week we'll play Can You. And it's all designed to get you thinking, get you going here, folks. So in the meantime, here's what you need to do. We need to face the facts that we've got service people around the world in harm's way, and this is the way it is. We're not out looking to grab anybody's land. We never have done that. We're just there to protect our own interests, and we have to go abroad to protect our own interests. We send our soldiers, men and women. So that's what's going on as we speak today. So the other thing is about the greatest secret in life, and that is that we never know how long we're going to be here. We just don't. When I say be here, I mean living with our full faculties. Not having full faculties would be, oh boy, you've got Alzheimer's, you've got other issues going on. You're just not the same person. That's called dementia. So knowing that fact, that we don't know how long we're going to be here, I think it's so very important that we do all we can while we can, whatever that is. Do all we can while we can. Because remember this, that too late may come too soon. Oh, we were going to do that, and now it's too late because Bob broke his leg and he can no longer do this. Or Martha had a stroke and now she can't do what they want to do. So too late may come too soon. God only knows it's happened to many, many of our friends and many of our families. So that's the story. We've got the sun going to turn around on Sunday. I'll be back next week for sure. Well, as long as the good Lord lets me, that's I guess I can't say for sure. If I'm around, I'll be around. How's that sound? So thanks to all of our veterans, each and every one of you. Thanks to all those people at the American Legion Post and the VFWs listening in. Thanks to all those. It's great to be an American and great to be a senior. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. I'm going to be at the Heartlanders game tonight. We'll see you next time. So long.
Hi, this is Tiffany at Senior Benefits. Are you confused with Medicare questions, anything having to do with Medicare? I take care of all Medicare customers, people under 65. I also do life insurance, long-term care, cancer insurance. I'm here to help you navigate any questions that you may be having or frustrations and anxiety that